Welcome to season 2 of No Shelf Control, the podcast with books, booze, and banter, hosted by authors for readers, because let's face it, we're all bookworms at heart.
This season, we're chatting about book-to-screen adaptations and trending BookTok books. I'm Lindsey Sparks.
And I'm Lindsey Pogue. Grab a beverage, kick back, and enjoy the show.
Yay!
I feel like every once in a while we need to preface with one of the Lindseys is expecting, so
Yes.
That's why we're kind of changing it up a little bit.
Yeah. So, and LP has been very supportive in not making me like lust after alcohol. She's been my support sober person.
Yeah.
Only during the podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we do what we need to do.
We do, yeah. We've got like 4 more months. Like 3.5. And then I can have some wine. Okay, welcome to season 2, episode 26 of let me just, hopefully it really is episode 26. I just put the next episode on there. Welcome to this
episode.
Just this very lovely episode that I'm just gonna like double check really quickly. Yes, it is. Okay. Welcome to season 2, episode 26 of No Shelf Control. For this book talk episode, we read Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan, who is not only the author of the book, but also the narrator. Yeah. So I believe this is our second time reading a book narrated by the author, but many of you have likely already heard Julia's voice because she is like a big time narrator. She's won like the Audie, I don't know, narrator of the year or whatever kind of award before. She's she's
done a lot of really big books.
Like Addie LaRue.
She's done pretty much every Taylor Jenkins reads. Yeah, she did Year One by Nora Roberts.
She was like the reporters or the journalists or the like news articles in Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. She does.
So she's been in a lot of things.
Yeah. And she's awesome. She also did one of Sarah Lyons Fleming's series. I think it was her first series.
And that's how you found her, right?
That's how I found her. And then she did my Cat Bois Chronicles, which I feel so lucky to have snagged her before she just like went in exclusively to traditional books. So traditionally published books. Really big.
Oh, did she did? So that's like a big thing that she did.
Well, she did come out of her. She slummed it for Song of Scares and Fallen Stars to do like.
No, yeah, I know, but
5 chapters.
In general, like, did she make that announcement or?
I don't know if she made an announcement, but she said she doesn't usually do indie books anymore. So,
okay.
When I came to her about that, I was like, I have a few more cat chapters if you don't mind. She's like, I don't usually do indie books, but I'll do it. I was like, okay.
Oh wow, well that's nice.
So I lucked out there. But yeah, she's
an
amazing.
Honestly, that is where she got her start, so I feel like that's fair.
Yeah. But she's an amazing narrator. Definitely one of my favorites. She does really great guy voices, which is funny.
Well, it's going to be really fun to talk about this one because Thank You for Listening is a story about audiobook narrators.
Yeah.
And she does a really cool author's note at the end that is really interesting. So it'll be fun to talk about. But
yeah. This is going to sound terrible, but I don't always listen to the author's notes or read the author's notes. But this was one where I really wanted to listen to it because I wanted to know which parts were based on her experience and which parts were not. And it was just really fascinating. But anyway, before we get into any of that, I did want to announce that this is the last episode of season 2. And we kind of came up with the idea in the middle of the last episode for season 3. And we were so excited about it that we were like, we're just going to switch immediately.
Yep. Why not?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. We care. Nobody else cares. Let's do it.
And I think it'll be amazing. And so what season 3 is going to focus completely on indie books, indie and small press. but indie books like our books.
Yeah.
Not like focusing on our books, but focusing on authors like us who are doing it on their own. And there's so many amazing
there really
indie
are.
books out there.
There's so many.
And I think because we've been focusing on book adaptations, the books that have been adapted to shows or movies and BookTok books, we have focused so much on like traditionally published books, the big time books that already have tons of publicity and stuff. And this is a great way for us to get to read some of those books that don't fit into either of those categories, but that we have been really wanting to read and we just don't have time to. So I'm really excited, and I know you are too.
I am. And it helps too, because we try, and when it comes to social media and the people that we talk to in our everyday lives, there are a lot of indie authors, big, small, whatever. And so I really want to be able to support them and read their books, and this will allow us the time to be able to do that, because otherwise there's just too much.
I know, and I don't always I very rarely share on my Instagram like which books I'm reading, but I'm really excited to start doing that with these ones, because I want to like share about these other indie books and also connect with these other indie authors.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be fun. So next episode, be prepared. Bum bum bum. Pretend I sound like Scar from The Lion King.
That's what I was just singing in my head.
We are going to be changing things up a little bit, so there you have it. Well, I guess technically, as normal, we will announce at the end of this episode what we will be reading next.
Yes,
for season 3.
Really, I just looked at the list because
I updated it.
Yeah, she updated it. I hadn't actually looked at it, but I just saw the one that she put first. And I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, because that's the thing, right? Like, we have all these friends in our circle, and we're like, we never get to read their books. So we're like, yes. Finally.
And this one's by an author who like comments on lots of my stuff, and I comment on lots of her stuff. And
that's what's like great about it. Yeah.
It's a book that I'm like, oh, I want to read this because I want to know if this is a book I should be recommending to my readers.
It's Casey's, right?
Yeah.
I'm
like, I feel like that my readers would love this.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm excited.
And you know what's really cool is this is one of those things where we did this a lot when we were doing the first season, when we were interviewing like the really big trad pub people who there were a lot of romance authors, but we were able to interview some amazing, huge names in like the author world, which is really cool. But the cool thing about doing it this way now is we can also now talk more to people who are like our peers that are amazing and they're doing great things, and we can learn from them, and we can read their books, but they're doing what we're doing. So it just makes it even cooler, So I think that's what I'm really excited about too. So
I am too.
And actually, I mean, well, we can talk about it, I guess, next time. But Casey was on our show, so it's cool to see. I think
it was like the episode that I had to miss that episode. I didn't even get to talk to her.
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah, and she lives in the like BF Idaho, not really Idaho, but like in like a farm in the middle of like the woods in like the middle of nowhere, and it's gorgeous. I'll just say that, but. Yeah, she lives like in the middle of nowhere. And so she has like barely any reception. She has to like, I don't know what it is now, but back then, like she was like, oh, we had to like coordinate when she could like drive out to where she might have service in her car. Oh my God, the poor thing. And so yeah, it would be cool to just be able to talk to more of these people and read their books and stuff. So I'm excited, obviously.
Yeah.
So
tell me what you're drinking tonight. Water. Delicious, hydrating.
I did, I mentioned this last time, but I've been drinking those
water additives.
Yeah, they're the IV, whatever, the kind of liquid IVs. Is that what they're called?
I have no idea.
You get them at Costco, and I have one for hydration and one for energy. And when I'm like really slumping in the middle of the day, I take the energy one, and I wonder if that's why I'm not sleeping very good. But then I always know I'm never sleeping very good, so I guess it doesn't really matter. It's like a vicious cycle. But overall, no. Right now, I just have regular water. But so I've been trying to really up my intake though of water, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Get my steps in. Because it's hard when you just work at a computer all the time, people. The struggle is real.
It is.
Do that and drink my water. It's a lot harder these days than it used to be.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
What have you been working on?
So no writing recently, but as you know, I have had a lot going on. I switched from Patreon to Ream, which is a similar platform, but it is designed by authors for authors and readers. So
it's new. So LP is like a trailblazer with this.
I definitely am, because I am in communication a lot with the customer service team. They're amazing, and there's a lot of stuff that we want to do, or that they're still going to be doing to the platform. But overall, it's a lot more conducive to what I'm working on this year. So anyways, I'm really excited about that. That has actually gone over really well with my existing Patreon peeps. So I'm really excited about that. So right now, I think mostly I'm trying to, I guess it kind of feels like a lot and nothing at the same time, because feel like I'm in the transition stages of a lot of things. But so I'm transitioning over to Ream. I am still working on Skies of Fire, that I'm exclusively posting chapters for on Ream for certain subscribers. And I also started a prequel, which I've talked to you about, for Ream subscribers also, which is a prequel for the Runeland series. So I'm very excited about that. So every month I am posting chapters from that.
But this is like a really big deal, everyone, because this is a story. Its roots lie in a story that LP started like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And has like wrote half the book and has just not gotten back to. Yeah. And it's the coolest premise, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's very daunting, because I don't usually write chapters to just share them with people. Like, I need to read over them 3 times before I try and, or whatever. So this is a daunting experience for me, but I'm just going with the flow. So I am writing the prequel to Runelands. Is essentially kind of like it's called Born of Salt and Sea. And if you have read Born of Sand and Scorn, I'm going to confuse so many people.
Which is the prequel.
It's a prequel to the Forgotten Lands. Yeah. So my prequel to the Runelands is essentially, it's like a Jane Austen meets like a Swiss Family Robinson meets everything I've written so far, with like a little Viking-esque. It's a little post-apocalyptic. It's very much, I've been writing this world, the forgotten world of, like, if everything changed during the Industrial Revolution and climate change just like shattered the world, and every single continent and like every inch of the world is just completely weather ravaged. So this takes place when this is just starting and people are fleeing London, which later becomes New London, which is in City of Ruin. So this is really exciting, because I'm taking an old piece of work that never fit in anywhere, and I am putting it in a world that I've already created, and it's just super fun. Who the hell knows how it's going to turn out? But I'm excited, because I've always had the story in my mind, and it actually works really well. I just have to kind of fit it into the right setting. So I'm working on that. I'm working on Skies of Fire, which is also going up for, like I said, for Ream. I've been playing with merch that's super fun and exciting. And I'm going to have my subscribers, they get to vote on their first story exclusively for them. I mean, it's all for them, but they get to like decide what I'm going to write next. Starting in like the next week or so. So I don't know, guys. This is such a crazy mess for me. Like, my brain, like, I'm so excited, but I'm also terrified, because my brain does not work this way.
Do you already have like the polls or did they already know the options, or do you know?
They don't. I just figured out what my schedule is going to be. So I'm actually, it's funny that you say that, because I want to, my post that I have been meaning to post for like 2 days, but I'm waiting to hear back because in Ream, they let you insert, like in your community post, they let you insert photos, but every like image that I'm inputting looks stretched or weird. So I emailed them and I was like, guys, I need to know what the recommendation is because I am not going to post this badass post that has all this information with a shitty fucking image. So you guys gotta tell me what the size needs to be. So as soon as I get that, it's going in there, but it's going to have my entire schedule for what I'm going to be posting and when. And it is going to alert people that, yes, as of the 30th of every month, they're going to have their post or their poll that they get to vote on. So I have a list that I'm going to, let's be honest, like I have a gazillion and one ideas. So I'm going to have to send it to my assistant, Sabrina. She's going to be like, okay, Lindsey, this is way more than you should be biting off right now. She's going to cut it in half. I already tell you how it's going to go. And then that's what's going to go to people. But yeah, I think that's how I'm going to start it off. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. This is all new. I just want to have fun with it. So far I'm having a really good response to the Ream platform. So we'll see. Cool. But yeah, so I've just like, I don't even know what else I've got going on. Just a lot of craziness and ups and downs. And as you know, when you change anything in your author world, every single book you have that has any information about you must change as well.
Yes.
So there you go. I'm also working on front and back matter as well. So anyway,
I didn't even think about that because I will be doing a Ream switch in a month or two. And that's like everything.
Yep. Yeah, it is very time consuming. And we also have a huge project that we're working on for this year. So I've been working on that as well, which is super fun. Yeah, so there's just a lot of things going on that I can't really show people, but I am excited about, and just taking up a lot of my time. So how about you? What do you got going on?
I submitted for review my Kickstarter this afternoon for the Echo Trilogy special editions. That's going to be launching in the middle of August. So I'm hoping that I did everything right and that they'll approve it and let me start sending people to the pre-launch page that I've been like trying to work towards forever. This is a huge thing because I've been working on this thing in all of my like spare moments when I couldn't be writing. Like, so when the kids are running around outside because I'm in my little like office shed, I can have the door open and they're just like running and I can be working at my computer on this. I couldn't focus to write, but I could work on this. So this has been months of putting this campaign together. So finally, it's like there's still some stuff I have to do behind the scenes, but for the most part, I think it's good to go. It's good enough for the pre-launch page for sure. There's like some images and stuff I can't make yet because I don't have the stuff yet. Because some of it, like, we haven't 100% decided on what we're doing yet. So, yeah, but that just feels like a huge, assuming that they approve it, it's going to feel like a huge weight off, just knowing that I can start talking about this stuff on social media and sharing some of the images and artwork that I've commissioned and all of that stuff, like teasing the covers and that kind of thing. And otherwise I'm going a little bit out of order with my 6th book in the Atlantis series. And I think I have like somewhere between 5 and 7 chapters left to write, but I also have to get it to my beta reader. I have it in my schedule to get it to my beta readers, of which Lindsey is one, on Sunday of this week. And so I was like, all right, I am going to have to like pause. So I'm going back to the beginning and revising. I am a third of the way through, maybe not quite a third of the way through. And I'm really happy with it. So that is always a big relief. I'm adding a lot, but I'm really happy with how it is going. Yeah, so that's been just what I've been working on, those 2 giant things. So
that's enough. I have to tell you that I don't know. This is not author related, but I think I've told you about at least one, but I've had a couple of deaths in the family in the last few months. It's been kind of crazy.
Mm.
And my dad is here right now for one of the memorial services. He's here for a couple weeks. And then as soon as he leaves, I go up north for another one that we're much more a part of. And so one of the things that I've been working on, I was just thinking that it's so funny because like you don't realize the skills that you adopt when you're doing the stuff that we do, like making like marketing images or making bookmark, whatever the hell it is. But like using all these programs and things that people in general, like they don't actually, the general populace doesn't actually understand or know how to do these things, right? They pay people to do them or whatever. But I just realized how much time I've been spending and how easy it is for me. But like I've been making like memorial pamphlets and like making these big like signs and all these things. And I don't know why, but you're talking about all these things that you're, in general, we have all these things that we're always working on, and you're just trying to write a book, and I'm just trying to write books, and we're still working on all these things on the side all the time, whether it's like we're trying to think ahead of merchandise or we're thinking about like how we're going to do our special edition covers or whatever the hell all these things are. And I'm sitting there going like, my cousins have been so grateful because I've been able to help with all of these things, and I got, all these things done. And for me, it takes such a small amount of time. But for them, it would take, like, they stress out about it and they're like, oh, that would have taken me days, weeks, whatever. I'm just like, no, just let me do it, And I don't know why this is totally not really book related, but whatever you were saying, somehow like it just kind of like, I don't know, resonated with me. And I was like, all these things that we're learning and all the stressed out stuff that we do and all these ideas that we have, in the end, it's a skill. And I kind of forget that it's a skill, like my cousin's talking about how she has to worry about like taking her kids to do all these 4-H things and homeschooling and worrying about her mom's service and all these things. And she's like, my son needs me to figure out how to do an Excel sheet. And I don't even know how to do it. And I'm like, I will fucking do your 4-H Excel sheet, and I'll do your, I'll do the program and all these things. And I'm like, this kind of stuff like really makes me feel like even though I just sit at home all day and I like work and do all these things that people don't really know what I do, like I kind of feel like I have some value. I don't know why what you were saying jogged that for me, but
I don't know either, but I
really don't. But I'm sitting here going like all the shit that we know how to do. And it's just like, you know what?
Yeah, it's not just writing books.
It's really not, I don't know. Maybe it's because I have like this weird stuff sitting next to me of like, I don't know. I really don't know, but I just wanted to just like get that off my chest because for some reason, apparently that was weighing on me, but I was just like, I feel like I have a little bit of value outside of writing books that my family don't read because they don't read the books and the genres that I read. But hey, I can make pamphlets and I can make banners and I can help with 4-H like
Excel spreadsheets.
Pig spreadsheets for fucking fair, and I don't know what the hell they do, but I will help because it stresses my family out, and I'm like, hey, I do that shit all the time. Let me help you. Anyway. Okay, I have that off my chest. We can move on now.
Well, I'm glad that you're feeling helpful and useful.
I am. Anyway, yes.
Okay, so have you been reading anything fun?
I've been, like I said, I've been pretty busy, but what I did do, so I did finish that, the Kingdom of Wall series that I think last time we chatted, I don't know if I read book 2 yet or not, but I
think that you were either on book 2 or book 3.
Okay, well, I finished the series, definitely recommend it. The Kingdom of Walls by Tanya Bird, if you like my stuff for sure. And then I kind of took a break. I have actually been reading my own, well, I say reading, but I guess listening to my own books whenever I can. specifically for all the new stuff I'm going to be writing for subscribers and whatnot. So I actually just listened to The Darkest Winter, and that was kind of a blast from the past, which is really cool. Because I started a book club, I guess we'll call it, in my Discord group, which is really fun to hear. Everybody's asking me questions as we're all reading it, which it really, like interacting with people, my readers in general, like it really kind of fills my well. So it's been really fun, and it actually felt kind of I don't know what they're like, left out, maybe. I don't know, because I had to stop because I had to read a book club book. I had to finish reading this one for the podcast. And everyone's like almost finished. Like, no, I had to pause. This is unfair. Even though I totally know what's going to happen. But I mean, it's been a while, I kind of forgot. But I think other than that, I did pick up a Candy Steiner book for the first time in a long time. So I'm going to try and read some romance because I feel like it's been a while. So
Some angsty romance.
Yeah, some angsty romance. Some sports angsty romance. So we'll see how it goes. But I haven't read a Candy Steiner book in a while. How about you?
I am on the next Kim Harrison Hollows book, A Perfect Blood. So yeah, I got an audiobook. Like I've said before, I go in phases between podcasts. I've burned through most of the podcasts that I had saved up, so now I'm back into audiobooks. So I got through the second half of the last one. In case people don't know, Kim Harrison books are long, especially for urban fantasy. They're very long. They're like long audiobooks. So I am on the next one, which is maybe 10. I don't know. But it's called A Perfect Blood. That's what the book is.
Nice.
So yeah. And I am still continuing to make headway, like one chapter a night through Spells for Forgetting. I'm on like page 100. It's
all right.
But I really am enjoying it. It's just like
Your nighttime read, I know.
I'm sleepy.
I have one of those right now too. I won't even talk about it until I'm a little further in because I have nothing to say yet.
Yeah. So, yeah, that for me. Shall we transition?
Let's do it.
Okay, from this point onward, there will be spoilers. This is your spoiler warning. If you do not want to be spoiled for Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan, you should stop listening now. Thank you.
Spoiled rotten.
Okay, so I'm going to read the description that I just pulled from Amazon, and then we will get into the discussion.
Sounds good.
From the author of My Oxford Year, Julia Whelan's uplifting novel tells a story of former actress turned successful audiobook narrator who has lost sight of her dreams after a tragic accident. I see what they did there. And her journey of self-discovery, love, and acceptance when she agrees to narrate one last romance novel. For Swanee Chester, being an audiobook narrator is a long way from her old dreams. But the days of being a star on film sets are long behind her. She's found success and satisfaction from the inside of a sound booth, and it allows her to care for her beloved ailing grandmother. When she arrives in Las Vegas last minute for a book convention, that's seen on the plane. Sorry. Swanee unexpectedly spends a whirlwind night with a charming stranger. On her return home, Swanee discovers one of the world's most beloved romance novelists wanted her to perform her last book. With Brock McKnight, the industry's hottest, most secretive voice, Swanee doesn't buy what romance novels are selling, not after her own dreams were tragically cut short, and she stopped narrating them years ago. But her admiration of the late author and the opportunity to get her grandmother more help makes her decision for her. As Swanee begins work on the book, resurrecting her old romance pseudonym, she and Brock forge a real connection, hidden behind the comfort of anonymity. Soon, she is dreaming again, but secrets are revealed, and the realities of life come crashing down around her once more. If she can learn to risk everything for desires she has long buried, she will discover a world of intimacy and acceptance she never believed would be hers.
That's a really long blurb.
It was really long, and I was like feeling out of breath, but I also have limited lung space at this point. So
I want to preface with saying that when you mentioned that you wanted to do this one, I had heard of it, and I knew that Julia had written and performed it, but I had no clue what it was actually about. So going into it, I didn't know anything about anything. So just saying that because now that you're reading that, I was like, oh yeah, okay. I had no clue what I was going to be sitting down to listen to when I actually
I was like, I honestly, I wasn't sure either. So my assistant Mandy actually recommended, she listened to it and recommended it. She said it was great. And I was like, okay, it's enough for me because I tend to like the books that she does. So, yeah. And I knew I loved Julia's voice. I had not read My Oxford Year, so I didn't know if I loved Julia's storytelling voice, but I knew I loved her narrating voice. And I feel like her voice can make most, like some books that maybe I wouldn't enjoy reading, I will still enjoy with her narration. So, so this was fun. Kind of one of those weird things where it's like, I'm obviously we were not like talking to Julia herself, but it's like when you watch a documentary about like a celebrity who you really admire or something, like you get some insight into somebody's life who you kind of have on a pedestal. I'm not saying like this knocked her off a pedestal for me or anything. It's just one of those interesting things. It's like, what if I don't like it? And it was like nerve-wracking.
Well, and I think there's, I mean, I don't know about you, but I have.
To be fair, I liked it. Let me just, sorry, just cut it and say that.
Yeah, no.
I don't want it to sound like I didn't like it. I did.
Yeah, it was a very good book. Yeah. I think for me, I was really curious as I was listening to it because I do listen to so many. I feel like I do already have a glimpse behind the curtain, because we publish and produce our own audiobooks, but also because, at least for me, I know a lot of audiobook narrators.
You do have ties with a lot of audiobook narrators.
Yeah, and so I listen to them behind the scenes stuff that like their own books. I kind of know some of the stuff that's going on. I know about the audio awards. I know about all these things and how nervous they get and how excited they get and how everybody wants this and how everybody wants that and how they're excited to work with these people and blah, 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 blah. And so for me, I thought it was it was very cool look behind the curtain that I had already kind of seen behind the curtain. But then the whole time I was thinking, is this Julia's experience?
Yeah, I know.
My gosh, this is so fascinating. Which she addresses,
which she talks about
at
in
the
author's
end.
note. She's
But
it's so funny.
Overall, it was fascinating. And okay, let's be honest, regardless of how much of it is her or isn't her and her experience, it is based on her experience as being an audio.
Yeah, she has
performer
drawn on her.
Yeah.
Like this, she has knowledge about this industry.
Yeah.
That you don't have unless you are an audiobook narrator.
So it's really fascinating. And let's just be clear, an actress turned audiobook narrator.
Which she talks about in the author's note.
So anyways, it's just really cool listening to it and just trying to like, I don't know, regardless, it doesn't matter if it's about her or not. She clearly, whatever she's writing about, is like a legit thing that has happened in the industry. Yeah. So it's really fascinating.
I feel like it really fits into the whole, like, write what you know. It doesn't mean she's writing about herself.
Right.
She clearly says she wasn't.
Yeah.
But she wrote what she knew about, which was the audiobook industry and Hollywood and the acting industry and how horrible that can be. Yeah. So yeah, it was really a really fascinating insight into that whole, not just audiobook world, but also
I think it's also cool for us in a way, is like, it's different, I think, for like a random reader who listens to audiobooks, but then for us as authors who know how the industry works, and we work with people who have like they have different pen names and pseudonyms and all this stuff. And so it's like, it's even more fascinating for me because I'm sitting there going, I know how important this is to people. And it's just, yeah, it's kind of like it's a psychological kind of mind trick that is just it was very interesting anyway, to say the least.
So to back up a little bit and to actually give us some structure, what format did you read? I feel like I obviously already know this, but
the audiobook for sure.
Yeah. How could you not with this one? I mean,
yeah. Written and narrated by the author.
Yeah. Who is an amazing narrator. Like,
yeah. And
you owe it to yourself. Okay. So what did you think of the story overall?
I thought it was really good. Like I said, I went into
good.
it not having any idea what I was getting into. I really had no idea. And I was very pleasantly surprised. And I think, I mean, I won't go too far into it because I know you have some questions about it. But yeah, I found myself very quickly getting very intrigued with, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen? This Brock guy. Oh yeah, I have ideas. Okay, yeah, okay. Ooh, Nick. Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so early on when Swan and the Las Vegas guy Nick have their little like one night stand thing, they go through this whole breakdown of the difference between romance genres and women's. There were so many like meta things about this book. Like it was like,
that was really cool. Yeah.
An audiobook about audiobooks. And it was they break down the romance and the women's fiction genres, which I feel like you could make an argument that this book fits into either one. Like, I don't know. It was just like they talk about tropes, and there were so many tropes, and they even talk about how this feels like a romance book. I mean, it was just,
the whole thing.
Yeah. I loved all of that. Like how like many layers it was immersed into not only the audiobook world, but also like the romance world. But okay, so they talk about the difference between romance and women's fiction. And a lot of it seems to come down to like the happily ever after or not. But which did you feel like? We have read a lot of romance and also some women's fiction for this podcast. Would you feel like this fits into one category or the other better?
I think it fits into women's fiction more. I only say that because the romance thread is, I mean, it's there, I guess it could technically be like a sweet romance, but it's almost like so drawn out and so, like you're saying, like kind of meta that I don't think you can consider it like a romance.
It doesn't feel like it's
even a sweet romance.
It doesn't feel like the romance plot thread is like the essential thread.
It feels more like Swanee's trying to figure out who she is. She's dealing with her grandma, she's dealing with her dad, she's dealing with her mom and her new husband. Like there's all these things going on in her accident and all these things that she's trying to come to grips with for herself. I think that even the romance that's sort of on page it wouldn't satisfy like hardcore romance authors.
Which I'm thinking of two different books that we have read that it doesn't remind me of, but I feel like could be categorized the same, but could also be categorized totally different in a way. But one of them is Devil Wears Prada.
Okay. I can see the similarity.
The other one, which is totally out of like left field, is Austin Land, which I felt like, which is probably more of a rom-com, but it also was really about the main character, like finding herself and figuring out what she wanted.
Yeah, I can see
that.
And
less so about like the romance.
Yes, I agree with that.
But like definitely Devil Wears Prada was about Andy.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
finding herself like a.
But it is interesting when you bring it up like that and you pose that question because it is a story about romance,
and it has an HEA, like,
but
it has
it's
a happily ever
not
after.
about Nick or Brock and Swanee. It's like I mean, it is, but that is not the romance is not tied around that. So yeah, I think if anything, it's women's fiction out of the two.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it straddles the line and would fit into both. Like people could make an argument for either one, but I personally would agree. Women's fiction But like, I feel like the way Swanee describes them in the book, women's fiction comes across feeling a lot more like literary fiction to me, and like an ambiguous ending or like tragic ending.
Yeah, because
Like
I think
the
there's a difference
secret love
between
letters of Olivia Moretti, like that definitely kind of felt like that would fit into the way that she defined women's
I
fiction.
think it's like there's a difference between like literary fiction and women's fiction in that I don't know. I feel like literary fiction has like a huge overall like arching goal of something else, whereas this is very much about romance in general. I don't know how to I don't know how else to describe it. As like without it being a hardcore romance, I can't see it really. It's not okay. Let's put it this way. Like if you read like a Jodi Picoult, if I'm saying her name right, like you know that somebody's gonna fucking die in that. Or Nick Sparks, right? Because that's how that is not romance. Yeah. And I think that that's the big difference, right? So if you're talking like literary fiction, because I mean, even like Nick Sparks, I don't think that he's considered women's fiction. I think he's.
Can you be considered women's fiction if you're?
No idea. No idea.
I don't really want to touch this subject.
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. But I'm just saying, like, when you're an author who you can kind of like, you have to wonder if someone's going to die in the end, you're not, like that's literary fiction to me.
Oh,
you know, because you have no idea if you're going to get happily ever after. Yeah. No idea.
I do have to say I appreciated not like having my heart ripped out for this book. That was nice. It's a nice change. Yeah, it was I just felt like it was a very fun, delightful read. Okay, so there was a fun twist in here in this book. So like super extra spoiler. Like really, if you don't want to have this book spoiled, you need to stop listening. So the one night stand, who seems to know a lot about how romance books and women's fiction stories might go.
I just want to lick Nick. Oh my God, I want to lick him so hard.
That ring thing.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so he's like Irish. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yes.
But he ends up also being not only the nephew of the romance author who Swanee is narrating, has come back, has emerged from her like seclusion from romance to like narrate her final project posthumously. He is also the narrator, Brock McKnight, who she's co-narrating with, and it has been having this like long distance texting relationship. You've got
mail-ish.
Yes, very You've Got Mail-ish. Yeah. Very much so. I totally had that thought.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So she's like she's got this guy who she kind of has like regrets that she didn't have any more like open or honesty, doesn't have any way, has no idea who he really is, Nick. And then she's got this guy who she's developing this relationship with, but she's using her pseudonym, and he's using a pseudonym.
It's like the whole thing. She has an accent that she doesn't really have. She has a name she doesn't really have. Exactly. Like it's a mess.
Yeah. So did you anticipate before the reveal that Brock and Nick were the same?
I did, but I was having a really hard time figuring out what the angle was. Like, did he know it was her and he was putting on a show? Or was he really, did he think he would never meet her again? So he was pretending he had an accent, but really he didn't. Like, I knew that it was him, but I didn't know what exactly the angle was.
And it was really smart of Julia to give him the accent, because it was like, but Brock doesn't have an accent. So they can't be the same person, right? Because unless he's putting on an accent to begin with, But
Well, that's the
then,
thing is then you have no
yeah,
idea.
and then you learn that the whole Brock voice is a thing, like that is not his real voice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I suspected, and I was like, oh, I feel like this is coming. And then when she finally was calling him, I was like, finally.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was calling Nick while she was with.
They were in the same courtyard. She's
No,
like, his
she was
phone
calling
is
Brock
ringing.
while she was with Nick,
Yeah,
and his phone rang,
She's
and I was like, I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But her shock was funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. What did you think of the characters?
They're really good. I thought the names that Julia chose for these characters kind of threw me because I'm like Bonnie, like Blah and Swanee and her friend
Adeku?
Adaku. Yeah. I'm like, how am I gonna remember? I mean,
I
maybe
know.
by the end I finally did, but yeah. And I
At
was
least
like,
we
why
had
do you look at
Nick and
Blah?
Brock
Like,
McKnight.
yeah. So
Blah,
I
blah.
think the names were a little interesting. But in general, I thought the characters were amazing. I thought her best friend was amazing. I thought her grandma was amazing. I thought her grandma's friends, my favorite parts of the
Mitzi?
book were when her Birdie and Mitzi and Blah were together. Those were like my favorite parts of the book.
Yeah, I could really relate to Adaku in that moment. She's like, I'm never leaving.
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by amazing old people who are crazy. I love it. Yeah,
Yes.
like she was totally. And then you have Swanee who's just like, oh, kill me now.
I know.
Yeah, my grandma and her crazy friends. So yeah, I think in general the characters were really good.
Yeah. Did you like okay, before like Nick and Brock were revealed as one person, did you have a preference for one over the other?
Nick is super witty. I really liked Nick a lot. He's super witty, he's super smart, he's super fucking charismatic, and you just want him to lick you all over the place. I mean,
he totally does not seem like a real person. There's no way there's this like super hot Irish guy
I know
who's also an audiobook narrator who's a super hot voice.
Yeah.
This is just not fair.
Yeah. And the nephew of this really famous romance narrator or author.
And he also blah, blah, blah. is in a band.
Yeah. And he has a really good voice. And his best friend is the producer. Yeah. But overall, no, I thought all of them, I thought the character development was actually really good.
Yeah. I will say I was getting really frustrated with Swanee in like the final quarter of the book. I was like, dude, come on. Like
after she knew, you mean?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Her I think starting with the reveal to her.
Yeah, and her getting all mad and then he's laughing and then she gets mad and it's like, no, literally why are you mad? Like,
and then she has like an actual like existential crisis breakdown and flies to Venice to see her mom. I'm just like, okay.
Must be nice.
Swanee, like, girl.
Yeah.
Lady. Come on. This is an amazing thing that you have discovered. These two men who you are super into are the same person.
I know. I do. I agree with that. And I really like, is his name Stu? Stan? Stu? Is his name? Stu. Anyway, her mom's husband.
Oh, Stu. Yeah.
Stu. Yeah. He was a great character. In the end, you think he's so silly, but in the end, he's like one of the like most wisdom-filled sage like characters.
Yeah.
I like.
So that was I think that I slowed down in the like final couple hours because I think I was so frustrated with Swanee. I was just like, oh my God, you're killing me here, Jake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that she was frustrating Nick.
Yeah. Man, and then he like, how can you not fall in love with him? She's being ridiculous, and then he flies to see her in a different country just to be like, please, like, I know I kind of screwed up, even though I don't even know what I did, but I'm sorry, and like, I really like you, and we're in another country, but you marry me / just hang out with me for 5 seconds.
Yeah. He was definitely a great character, and like who she needed to like get over all of this like past trauma that she had been living with, and just like move on. That was great. He was who she needed to meet to like help her face herself, I guess. So, okay, kind of pulling back out of the story a little bit. Have you, well, I'm going to swap these two questions. Were there any specific interesting or notable insights into the audiobook industry for you that stood out to you from this book?
I wouldn't say.
I have to say that I found the green apple thing really interesting. And also I need to like get some Granny Smith apples for when I'm doing read by the author to help. Apparently it's a cure for like mouth noises. So
Yeah, I obviously didn't know about that. I think, I don't know. I remember, so as I was listening, I remember like they make such a big deal about the pen names and the pseudonyms. I guess it's more of a pseudonym for a narrator, but it's funny because I kind of felt torn. I guess I know a lot of narrators. Well, I don't know a lot of narrators, but the narrators that I know that have pseudonyms, like they don't care that much if people know who they are. Like the way they were making it sound in this audiobook is like, it's like there's like a, I don't know, they made it sound like you will fucking get your throat slit if you like tell people.
But also it's kind of like, how can it be a secret? Doesn't anybody notice?
Well, and that's the thing is maybe it's because I'm in this business, but I always can tell if it's somebody that I've heard before. I'm like, 1,000%. You know how I stalk people. I'm like,
Yes.
dude, I heard your voice on a different one and your name was different. Like I mean, maybe I'm a stalker and that's why, but it just made me think about it made me really kind of think about that. And I was like, they made it seem like such a big deal, but I'm just like, I don't understand how readers will know these. If they're people, readers are hardcore. Listeners are hardcore.
And it's
if
not
you,
like people who listen to romance audiobooks only listen to romance audiobooks. Like,
I mean, take me for example.
Yeah. But it did make me really curious because in her author's note at the end, Julia mentioned that she started out in romance under a pseudonym.
I know.
And so I was like, oh my
is.
God, because I would 100% recognize her voice. It's very distinctive. Yeah. So I thought, yeah, that was really interesting. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just really made me think about that because she made it sound like, and this is, I'm assuming it's true because why would she lie? But, or make it seem like big when it's not. But this whole thing behind the different names, and it's like, I honestly, like Brock, I get it. Like that's his character and his personal choice. But if you're a famous narrator and you're narrating different types of books, like people are going to recognize your voice. So I don't understand how you can try and be so secretive. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And then be angry or like breach of contract, or I signed this contract saying blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, I can pick your voice out in a line. Like, I don't understand like how you think you can hide that from people. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I am totally baffled by the idea that anyone would think that they could hide unless they use a different voice.
So like the thing with Nick would work because he actually has an accent. So if he was to obviously narrate accent versus American accent, like that would make sense. But like I'm thinking of, I mean, you know who I'm thinking of, all these narrators that I like, that we've even got comments on the podcast saying, oh, this person, you shouldn't say what their other name is because they don't want people to know. I'm like, it's really obvious that it's them. And I don't understand how you think you can keep this a secret. Like it makes no sense to me. So I don't know. It just, that was something that definitely stood out to me. But
yeah. Have you read anything like this that's about like our industry in any way that you can think of? I couldn't think of anything that like about off. I thought of the what's it called? The Lost City or whatever. The
oh my God, the movie, yes, The Lost City. That is,
which is amazing.
Amazing,
so
yes.
Good. With Sandra
Love
Bullock.
it.
So good.
But she's also trad pub, so I mean, obviously, and she has a Fabio lookalike, so that's a little different for us. But even I think I'm just thinking about I feel like there's a lot of books where people are authors, and there's definitely, I know, I think her name's Emily Henry. She's the one who does like book. I don't have any of her books in here, but anyway, she's very famous. Um, uh, Book Lovers and Beach Read and all of these books. Like she writes about authors, and other authors have written about authors, but I feel like they're always traditionally published. I don't
Hmm.
feel like I might be wrong. I mean, I probably am wrong, but I feel like I can't think of anything where they're specifically talking about an indie author or
Yeah.
somebody who hasn't come from some big publishing house.
I
So
did. Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't think so.
Nothing came to mind for me either. So this was
Yeah.
definitely unique and fun in that it explored
Yeah.
not our direct industry, but an industry that we are very closely involved in.
I would be interested to hear what other audiobook narrators would say
Think
about
about
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one extra thing that was not in my questions, my initial questions that I sent to you, which was they did make a comment. So this is interesting. This is more of just like a side note. Um, uh, with trying to like without being dragging this into the controversial world of AI that exists right now.
Oh yeah.
But it was
wondering if you'd
really
bring that up.
interesting, and I almost reached out. I was like, I should send Julia an email, but I didn't want to like open up a can of worms for her either. But they make comments about AI narration. This was written a couple years ago. They make comments about AI narration then, and it struck me as so
Poignant.
yeah, because
Uncanny.
yes.
Eerie. Yeah.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
when Apple released their preview of the voices, one of them named Madison is Julia's voice.
Yeah. I know. I think I sent that to you.
Yes. And I was like, you were like, isn't this Julia Whelan? And I was like, yes. And I still don't know if she licensed her voice or not. So I'm not going to make any commentary about like whether or not this is about any. I'm not going to make any commentary about anything
But
other
it's
than
a real
that.
thing
I
for
know
people to
that
consider.
she's
Yeah.
aware of it. So I don't know if she's on board or what. I just know that she's aware of it. So yeah. Interesting. So, just something for people, food for thought, and just like totally weird that she had written this a couple years before that it was even a possibility, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any final thoughts on this book?
No, I really did enjoy it though. I think that anybody who just wants a feel good, fun, romantic read, I wouldn't say it's a romance, but a romantic read, definitely.
And it definitely hits a lot of those like really nice romance buttons. Like,
yeah,
there's a tiny amount of steam, I guess.
Not really. It's mostly behind, like, it's mostly flashbacks and like fade to black, but yeah.
Yeah. But there's a ton of sexual tension.
Yes.
And
well, the banter and the writing is just so good. Like, it's worth it. You know, like you said, the tension itself and the characters are so well written. And even if you don't care about the romance, like her relationship with Ba is like, I think it's great. Her grandma and dealing with dementia, and even her relationship with her father was really intriguing to me. I just overall, I thought it was
her
really,
relationship
really well
with herself was really interesting. I mean, it was very like, there's a lot of introspection in the book, and the book is like really about her like falling back in love with herself, kind of, I guess.
Yeah. So overall, like, I mean, I thought it was great. And there was a couple of times where I was just like, dinner's going to be late tonight because I'm going to keep reading Dennis. And he's like, oh, whatever. And he had no idea why, but I'm like, I'm reading a book and I like it. I want to know what's going to happen.
Oh man.
I need to know about Brock and I need to know about Nick. So.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's it for us for this episode. Thank you for listening, everyone. I have to double check. Okay. We will be back in a couple weeks for the first episode of season 3. Don't forget to check out the show notes for this episode's links and book recommendations. And for our first indie book episode, we are reading House of Eclipses? House of Eclipses?
Yeah, I think it's plural, yeah.
By Casey L. Bond. It is Egyptian mythology focused.
I have no idea. I haven't read the blurb. I just like
Fantasy,
Casey
I
and I like
believe.
her. I know she likes to write mythology, so I'm down.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm really excited. It's the first book in a duology. And there is an audiobook available. Yeah. So if you're enjoying the show, we would love it if you left us a rating and or a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. That allows for that sort of thing. And until next time, happy reading.
Happy reading, everyone.